Joining us now from South Carolina, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, President Trump, as we just reported, has given Attorney General Barr, quote, full and complete authority to get and declassify all government secrets related to the Russia investigation. Here is the president.
I declassify everything they want. I put it under the auspices of the Attorney General. He's going to be in charge of it.
Senator, any problem with that?
No, not at all from my point of view. I was one of the Republicans insisting that Mueller be allowed to do his job. I never thought it was a witch hunt. The Mueller report is in, no collusion, Mueller didn't do anything on obstruction. Now I'm insisting that we get to the bottom of this. I want all the documents around the FISA warrant application released. I want to find out exactly how the counterintelligence operation began. I think transparency is good for the American people. Not one Democrat seems to care. I was the hero when I said, let's support Mueller. I wish some Democrat would come forward to find out if the FISA court was defrauded by the FBI and the Department of Justice. So I support Attorney General Barr to make this as transparent as possible.
Critics make 2 points, particularly about this issue of declassifying, because these are, after all, the crown jewels of the Intelligence Committee, including reportedly the identity of a key informant who is close to Vladimir Putin. Here are the 2 questions that they raise. 1, can Barr be trusted with these secrets? And 2, can he be trusted not to cherry pick the information to make a case for the president?
Well, I think he can be trusted, and I'm going to look at this. Nobody doubted my trust or my ability to be fair when I supported Mueller. The people who are worried about this are worried about being exposed for taking the law in their own hands. It doesn't surprise me that the people we're looking at, they don't want transparency. We're not compromising national security here. We're trying to create a system to make sure this never happens again by shedding light on what happened with the FISA warrant process, the counterintelligence investigation. Did they have a lawful reason to surveil President Trump's campaign? Did they lie to the FISA court? Every American should want to find that out.
The other big story in Washington this week is the extraordinary war of words between President Trump and Speaker Pelosi. The president ended up saying that House Democrats have a choice. They can either legislate or investigate. Here he is.
I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, I want to do infrastructure. But you know what? You can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with.
You have made it clear, Senator, you disapprove of what the Democrats are doing to the president, but you also say that he can't allow them to goad him into ignoring the nation's problems.
Yeah, what started all this, Nancy Pelosi is riding a bucking wild bronco called the Democratic Caucus. 70% of the Democratic base throughout America wants President Trump impeached. She knows that impeachment would be political suicide because there's no reason to impeach the president. So she's trying to keep the party intact. If she goes down the impeachment road, Republicans take back the House, we keep the Senate, President Trump gets reelected, but her job is very much at risk. So what I think is going to happen here, I think that she's going to be driven toward impeachment. If she goes down that road, it will be suicide for the Democratic Party. From President Trump's point of view, I disagree with the idea that you can't work with them while they're doing things like this. You have to work with them. You can't control, Mr. President, what the Democrats do, but you can control what you do. And you need to lead this country to better bridges and roads and lower prescription drug prices. If they say no to you, that will help you. If they say yes and work with you, that will help the country. So I don't believe that the idea of working with the Democrats should be taken off the table because they're going too far.
You call all of what's going on here in Washington a political circus, but you took a different view back when you were leading the impeachment effort against Bill Clinton back in the late 90s. At that time, right, you said that any president, and you talked specifically about Clinton and Richard Nixon, who defied Congress when it came to subpoenas, was in danger of impeachment. Here you are back then.
You're becoming the judge and jury. It is not your job to tell us what we need. It is your job to comply with the things we need to provide oversight over you.
Question, why is it an impeachable offense for Clinton or Nixon back then to ignore congressional subpoenas, but it's okay for President Trump to do now?
Well, there's two things here. The Mueller investigation was a special counsel appointed to find out if the president committed a crime, if he colluded with the Russians, if he obstructed justice. The president gave him 1.4 million documents to Mueller. Everybody around the president was allowed to testify. He never claimed executive privilege. He complied, no cover-up, worked with Mueller. Mueller's the final word on this for me. So if Clinton had stiff Ken Starr, that's different. What Nadler's doing is trying to destroy the president and his family. If I were the president, I'd fight back against this political revenge coming out of the House. Mueller was the man of the law. Mueller was an independent voice that we all trusted to be fair. I don't trust House Democrats to be fair. They're trying to redo the Mueller report. They're trying to make up other stuff. And at the end of the day, it will be political suicide for them to impeach. If I were the president, I would fight Nadler tooth and nail. I'm glad he cooperated with Mueller. That's the difference.
As we have reported, the president today, I don't know, maybe it was today, maybe it was yesterday, these time differences with Japan confuse me. The president tweeted this, and I want to put it up on the screen. North Korea fired off some small weapons, which disturbed some of my people and others, but not me. I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me. Do you share the president's confidence in Kim? And how do you square that with the fact that his own national security advisor, President's national security advisor, John Bolton, said just the day before that the firing of these missiles was a violation of UN resolutions?
I don't think it's remotely possible that Chairman Kim will give up his nuclear weapons until he feels the threat to do so. I'm glad the president's engaging him. All those before President Trump failed on their watch, and President Trump has finally got Kim Jong-un's attention. But I'm not naive about this. I think they're trying to run out the clock on President Trump. The only way Kim will give up his nuclear weapons if he believes he's better off without them, and you've got to make the threat of military force real if he continues to develop missiles and bombs directed at America. What we do in Venezuela and what we do in Iran will make a difference as to how Kim reacts to us in North Korea.
I want to get to both of those trouble spots in a moment, but just to go back, you say that he needs to, in effect, present a threat to Kim. So what good does it do, or do you think it was a mistake to tweet out that, yeah, some of my advisors were upset about firing these missiles, but not me, and that he has confidence in Kim to keep his promise?
I think he's trying to give North Korea some space to come back to the table and then end this. But like every other president, he's trying very hard to stop the nuclear advancements of North Korea. I think he's made more progress than other presidents because he's engaging Kim personally. But President Trump will be judged by the outcome. It's not the process. At the end of the day, did Kim give up his nuclear arsenal on President Trump's watch in return for security and prosperity? We're a long way from there, but I hope we can get there. I'll give Trump the space he needs to deal with Kim, but I'll remind the president that you have to deliver on this. This is one of the signature issues of your administration.
All right, let's talk about Iran. The president sending 1,500 more troops to the Middle East to counter the threat in Iran. And also, he says, as part of the counter to the threat to Iran, he has announced arms sales on an emergency basis, $8 billion in arms sales to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. Any problem with the president going around Congress, and particularly when it comes to arms sales to Saudi Arabia, continuing to do business with the regime that slaughtered Jamal Khashoggi?
Yeah, I've got a real problem with going back to doing business as usual with Saudi Arabia. Jordan's a great ally. The UAE has been problematic in Yemen, but a good ally. Saudi Arabia is a strategic ally, but the Crown Prince was, in my opinion, involved in the murder of Mr. Khashoggi, and he's done a lot of other disruptive things. So I don't support the arms sales now, but I do support American troops going in to the Mideast in larger numbers to deter Iran. Let there be no doubt, from my point of view, the threat stream against American personnel in Iraq coming from Iran, particularly Shiite militia controlled by the Ayatollah, was real. I'm glad that Abraham Lincoln is in the region. I'm glad we're sending more troops. And why is this happening? The maximum pressure pressure campaign against Iran is working. You can't buy oil from Iran anymore without being sanctioned yourself, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the henchmen of the Ayatollah, now are subject to sanctions. They're a terrorist organization. So President Trump is putting a lot of pressure on Iran. They're trying to break our will, and this is an effort to deter Iranian aggression, not to invade Iran.
Senator, I got two more issues. I want to squeeze them both in if I can. The president is reportedly considering issuing pardons around Memorial Day, around tomorrow, to service members that were either convicted or accused of committing war crimes. Here's how the president explains it.
We're looking at a lot of different pardons for a lot of different people. Some of these soldiers are people that have fought hard, long. You know, we teach them how to be great fighters, and then when they fight, sometimes they get really treated very unfairly.
As someone who spent 3 decades as a military lawyer and then a military judge, how do you feel about the president possibly granting pardons to people accused or convicted of war crimes?
Well, it depends on what case you're talking about. I don't mind the president looking at these cases, but Mayor Pete said he shouldn't pardon anybody. I've spent a lot of time in the region. We had a situation where we would catch a terrorist because the legal system was so broken in Iraq and Afghanistan, they'd be right back on the street the next day. That was frustrating to our soldiers. But we also had a case where a young man went in and murdered the family and raped the daughter. That's not the conduct we want. Military justice is about good order and discipline and dealing with crimes. So the rules of engagement, conduct, there are a lot of people had to make snap decisions under a tremendous amount of pressure. Look at these cases individually. Let the military justice system work its will. Make sure that every soldier is looked at as an individual. There was a time in Iraq where, and Afghanistan, if we caught a terrorist, they would be right back on the street in a matter of days, and that was frustrating to our troops. But again, we're an ethical force, we're well trained, and the military justice system is designed to maintain good order and discipline. Look at these as individuals, not holistically.
Okay, I got about a minute left, so I'm going to ask for a quick answer here. You had a tough article in the Wall Street Journal this week in which you said that the U.S. really needs to get much tougher in Venezuela. You said we need to order Cuba to get all of their forces out of Venezuela immediately, and you even talk about the U.S. invading Venezuela like Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, really. So here's the deal. We're being tested in North Korea, Iran, Syria. Assad's going into Idlib now. There's a lot of pressure on the Trump administration. Trump said rightly Maduro is not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. The entire region supports the Trump approach that Guaido is the legitimate leader. He wouldn't be in power without 6,000 or 7,000 Cuban security forces in Venezuela. I would do exactly what Reagan did. I would give Cuba an ultimatum to get out of Venezuela. If they don't, I would let the Venezuelan military know you got to choose between democracy and Maduro. And if you choose Maduro and Cuba, we're coming after you. This is in our backyard. Trump said that he was for democracy against socialism, and he's drawn a red line when it comes to Maduro. If he doesn't act, everybody in the world is going to think he's weak. If he does act, it helps us with North Korea, Iran, Russia, and everybody else.
Senator Graham, thank you. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you for sharing part of your Memorial Day weekend with us. Always good to talk with you, sir.
Thank you.